carry on asking, please, if you have any question during these lessons. Okay, I'll share with you the lecture slide and then we'll start. Okay, hope so you can see the slides now. Okay, we'll start now. Thank you. Okay, so our LO1, which is about understand the theories and the principle of the taxation system. As I mentioned, my name Anjum Sattar is my email address, anjum@ukversity.co.uk. So please make sure everyone join the lessons online, and which will carry on delivering. And next lesson will go through our LO. Through the aim of this unit is enable to individual to understand the taxation as the effect on the individual. This unit will be focused on income tax, national income, and contribution and capital gain tax, which will go through. Okay, always good to be scale 1 to 10. You carry on looking, how much we know about already and what will be the increase in terms of the points, by looking these. Okay, understand the theories and the principle, the taxation system, and these are the key indicative contents which will go through ethical applications, the current, legislation, the requirement, and the tax, the tax planning and tax surveillance. So please, always good to be fine which year. So we are looking the Finance Act 2024. 23 and 24, please, it's good to, and you can follow whichever year you want to follow, because up to 31st January we can follow the previous year tax rate. Okay, so basic tax 12,570 is the personal allowance. After that, if you earn 37,700, the 20%, and the dividend rate is 8.75. And in our lesson 2, we'll do the calculation and we'll apply these rates. Then the higher rates is 40% and the additional rate is 45%. And if you are the saving income rate band, basic tax rate pays can be 1,000, higher can be 500. Okay, so we can look around the personal allowance. So please, transferable amount 1260 if marriage allowance, and income limit is 100,000. If you earn more than 100,000, your personal allowance can be finished. So we have to look around in the light of. So please, we can look around child benefit incomes. Yes, so if when the income is more than 50,000 and 60,000, the charge is 1% of the amount of the child benefit received every £100 of the income over the 50,000. So please, we can look around 100% of the property and the income cost and the subject to the basic instruction which we can look around. Okay, so then please, the mileage, the claims, please, you can look around as well. The electric cars, yes, what is and what kind of benefit in kind and all, which will go through when we do the calculation of the tax, so please, is very important, the personal allowance, and then capital allowance, capital gain, corporation tax, of course, which is not we're doing more personal tax. Okay, so please, the late penalties, yes, capital gain taxes, yes, normal rate is 10%, higher rate 20%, residential properties 18 and higher 28, which we can look around these, and bad debt relief and NI contributions, yes, please, if you're class 102, the 12,570, class 1 is 1 to 9,000, no, and if you're earning more than 9,000, 13.8. And employer allowance, is a 5%, which we can for the employer and employees, which we can look around, please. Accordingly, the rates and we can apply, so we can look around class 2, £3.45 per week, and small profit threshold 12, and the class 4, is 0% if you're on, and the employer rate is 13.8% of the tax, which we can further look around the points each year, because the rates carry on changing and we need to. Okay, so the purpose of the UK tax system is types of the tax: direct, indirect taxes, which we can look around, and those we need to look around internal, external. We need to look around the ethics, tax avoidance, dealing with the HMRC, interaction of the UK and the overseas, and the sources of the tax HMRC guidance, which we can follow. Okay, so taxation of the individual, the income tax, the chart to the taxable income in the tax year, and capital gain, chart to the taxable gain in the tax year. National income, national insurance, please, which we can look around the earning of the employees. We can look around the charge on the transfers of the values. That's, inherent tax, which we can charge. A good tax system should be the 5 basic, the fairness, advocacy, simplicity, transparency, administrative ease. Although the opinions, about the good tax system is varied, and there is a general consensus that the 5 basic points should be maximized, the greatest extent of the possible. Therefore, we can look around the believe that the taxes should be based on the individual ability to pay, no ability to pay the principal, and what the individual pay and the benefit, and subsequently receive the government activities. The fourth, the Smith uh, laws, which we can interpret the underlies, emphasis, which we can look around the economics misplace, the tax system that does not interfere the market decision making as well as the market obvious, need to be avoid the complexity and corruption. That's, which we need to be. Features of the good tax system is fair, absolute, convenient, efficient. Direct, indirect taxes can be in the tax structure, rate structure, progressive, proportion, and regressive. So what is the government need to be revenue for the finance, such as health and various activities? So that's why the taxes go is income for the government. So please, we have to look around the fiscal policy of the government, how much income generate and spend on the various sectors. So please, that's, which we can focus. So that's, we can look around the manufacturing, high tax, tobaccos, alcohol, and various things which is against the health. And the good tax system is fair, reflecting on the personal ability to pay, and transparent and absolute, is certain rather than the arbitrary, and convenient, easy to pay. And for example, the tax system, the pay as you earn system to collect the tax, the source of the salary and the wages, and efficient how the collection of the costs. So that's, which we need to be look around. Okay, so taxes can be classified: income tax, the income tax, and then corporation tax. Asset can be capital gain tax, and we can look around the VAT, value added tax as well. Progressive, the tax, increase with the proportion of the income as the income rise. From example, the income tax 20%, 40%, and finally 45%. And proportional tax, these are the same proportion of the income as the income rise. So these, if the income rise by 10%, so tax can be, and so on. So the tax, decrease the proportion of the income as the income rise. For example, national insurance contribution, which is charged 12%, and then 2% after 50,000. That's, which we can look around in this subject. So social justice system, we need to be look around the tax structures imposed, has the direct impact on accumulation and redistribution of the wealth within the country. The main taxation principle listed argument for and against can be, which we can look around as income rise, the proportion of the tax, raised 20% and 40% and 45%. Income tax is the example of the progressive tax. A regressive tax, which we can look around an example rises of the proportion of the tax For example, the tax on the liter of the petrol is the same regardless of the level of the income, the purchases, and this is the regressive tax is as they represent greater proportion of the income for the lower earner and then higher earner, and the proportions which we can look around these the example which we can include as the income rise the proportion of the tax constant. For example, 10% all and regardless of the levels which we can say the proportions. So that's which we can look around the income tax include the income tax computation calculation of the income tax for all the source of the tax and exempt not tax not taxable and don't include the income the tax calculation and clearly state the income is exempt, which we can look around like the premium bond and various the government schemes which we can. A good tax system should be feel the five basic component which we just mentioned: transparency, the administrative ease, and about the a good tax system it can be varies in the general consensus and the basic condition should be maximized the greater extent possible. ACC believe the commitment of the achieving the simplicity of the tax system will produce the more benefit, reduce the cost of the administrative, greater accountability, and through the clarity and transparency, they improve the stability because of the potential for unintended consequences and need, counteracting measures are reduced. And it's also notable that reducing the administrative burden of the business to be more strongly linked with the economics growth and cutting the tax target. The changing the tax, the rules affect, tax as based on the economics and the compliant cost and the more regular, the changes is the greater cost, for smaller businesses, particularly the large infrequently changes, the preferable successive small one, and we can look around the change allowed. So please, thus we can look around which make tax administrative more difficult, assessment of the use of the legislated models, and which we can outcome of the changes policy making, amount of the real world conditions, and the UK tax system with is the example as the merit as the model, but operational weakness is the tax administration. Okay, tax planning, which is illegal, which we can legal use of the tax to minimize the tax bill. Avoidance is the legislation, but not following the intended law. Use unintended loopholes and illegal ways to pay less tax, by concealing. So, which we can look around the purpose of the taxation to raise the money for the government, provide infrastructure and the services, redistribution of the wealth, the control of the economy, recession boom, encourage the discourage of the different activities, pension, contribution, smoking, and all, which we can look around. Principle of the taxation system neutral, which we can wherever not always true, and efficient cost and benefit. We can look around simple, certain, exactive, and fair, which is based on abilities. And we can look around the tax, income tax and HMRC administrators, UK, and the capital gains, which we can look around here start and end, which is 1st of April till 31st. So the tax basis, please, what is the tax structure, what is the base and the basic rate, which we can look around. The possible model, which we mentioned, progressive income tax band and regressive not fair. And we can look around the proportion is VAT. So HMRC, which we can look around the fiscal year assessment, legislation act of parliament, MPs and updated, annually finance and secretary, instrument, civil servant. We have the rules, operation and laid before. So that's which we can tax, laws, suit, which is act of the parliament, and the case laws, which will carry on and does not force, statement of practice and extra secretary consultation, leaflet revenue, and the custom and the manual together, which will carry on. So what is the residency, the short-term test? particularly easy to please thus we can domicile if is a real home and the country of birth also really matters the domicile originally from father dependents and the choices. Okay, so impact of residency and domicile in the UK, your long-term home, taxes exempt and residency and the tax rate 180 days and what is the legal ways to government intended and pension scheme ISAs which we can between spouse transfer tax avoidance using the law not the government intended to complicated era bending the rules and exploiting the loopholes and form over the substance and could challenge and may involve the artificial transactions. So which we can or may be legal but unethical. So we can look at an example of tax avoidance. Self-employed businessman wife implies genuine work and the level of the pay. Yes, which is in law is allowed, but we need to be look around in the legal perspective. Tax avoidance always illegal and nothing declaring, which we can and overstated expenses. Okay, tax planning using the law to legitimate, reduce the tax bill and avoidance abusing the law to reduce the tax bill, possible illegal and unethical and tax evasion breaking the law and the rules which we can. Please five professional code of ethics, popular people chat in offices. Thus, you remember. So first be the professional behavior, professional competencies, which we carry on using these ethics, confidentiality, integrity, and objectivity, and we have to follow these, the real responsibility of the client to provide and guidance, which we can professional. These are the code of professional behaviors, not conflicting information, not self-interest, professional competence, up-to-date knowledge, keeping the client information confidential, not declaring to third party, objectivity, true and fair, and integrity, mean honest. So these are the ethics which we need to be follow. Money laundering, of course, we have a national crime agencies involved, and it can be up to and the criminal agencies, and it can be imprisonment up to. Okay, so that's which we can look around, and we organization should have a money laundering regulatory officers within the company. NCA, National Crime Agency, report to directly to NCA. Consider advise HMRC about the previous liabilities of the previous submission, and don't discuss the client affair with the third party without proper specific authority, or if we court say then the wider interest of the public, then we can, if somebody is involved in money laundering, if they required to disclose the information by law and under the written information notice, which we can. Okay, that's which we. So today lesson key focus was, and we discuss about how we can look around in terms of the tax planning, our residency, and we discuss about different taxes, and that's all our discussion. So next lesson we'll go through the tax calculation. So please make sure you attend lesson next week, and if any question, drop me email anjum@ukversity.co.uk. Thanks for attending and have a lovely weekend. So speak you all during next lesson. Thank you. Bye bye.